Hey guys, Shawn right here for Digital Muscle. I guess it was a matter of time before I got enough messages from people asking me to chime in on one of the more recent passings of a female bodybuilder working under the tutelage of a coach. What am I supposed to say? I've been screaming from the mountaintops since I was competing in bodybuilding. Now, mind you, I haven't competed in 20 years. But when I was talking about these coaches, everybody was saying, the bodybuilders need to take responsibility for themselves. How many deaths is it going to take before people start holding the coaches accountable? These coaches are not doctors. My record is clear on how I feel about some certain coaches. Now, granted, I never had a coach. I had a trainer. When I was 17 years old, introduced me to the world of bodybuilding. By the time I was 18, I was on my own, and I figured it out. My training partners were going to help me be a better bodybuilder. I didn't want the influence of a coach telling me what to do, when to eat, what to take. It was a whole trial and error period. It was a different time in bodybuilding when I was coming up. None of us had coaches. But then as the 90s came in, it seemed like every bodybuilder and their mother had a coach, a guru, a trainer. Somewhere along the line in the 90s, these coaches, these trainers, became gurus with no medical degree, no PhD, no MBAs, nothing. These coaches decided to take these top athletes and experiment, advise them and guide them not just on nutrition, how to take the diuretics, how to do the protocols. Then we moved into the digital age in the 2000s. Of course, I retired. You got the cell phones, and now you can deal with a coach from another country on a Zoom call, on a Skype, on a FaceTime. So this girl passes away over the weekend. Not the first. There's been plenty of girls before her. She's the latest. And now we're hearing about coaches that are passing. When I think about that, I go all the way back to Trevor Smith from T Nation. Google him. He wanted to be a 400-pound guy. He certainly wasn't like a bodybuilder. Nonetheless, he was a coach. He was an experiment that went awry, and of course he died, and it was unfortunate. But along the way, some of these bodybuilders decide that they want to pass on their influence and their wisdom to the up-and-comers and put a price tag on it, and then provide them with their protocols. I've been focused on one trainer for a very long time when I was coming up because he was working with a slew of guys I was coming up against. I didn't think it was unfair that they worked with a trainer. What I thought was unfair were the things that he was introducing into their protocols that I won't say was an unfair advantage because I knew there was a price to be paid. There's a body count along the way working with this coach. There are kidneys missing, transplants that had to take place on high-level bodybuilders that I felt was a direct correlation to working with this coach who's still in business today. There's high-level trainers out there that have deaths on their hands that say, hey, I couldn't stop the bodybuilder from taking what he wanted to do. He was a drug addict. He was this, he was that. Zero accountability, zero funerals attended. What trainer out there on the high level doesn't have a death on their hands? I don't have to name names. Anthony DeRozzo, Luke Wood from Australia, Nasser El Sambati. Google their coaches. Find out who they were working for. Shelby Starnes. More recently, the coaches, Matt Porter, John Meadows. I mean, the things that the athletes take today could bury them tomorrow. Taking the advice of a coach/guru on diuretics, anabolics, on a cell phone from miles away. Sight unseen. Take this pill, eat this thing, dehydrate this way. And the coach is not even present. You want to know whether or not a coach is involved in someone's death? Check the text messages, check the emails. I'm sure there's a trail. While the athlete's suffering and dying, the coach has deniable plausibility. He's not there. He's not even present. So who do we hold accountable? The dumb athlete that's taking the advice of a trainer coach, blindly following their lead because they used to be a pretty good, decent bodybuilder, or because they worked with a couple of champions? My advice to the bodybuilders out there, get with a trainer, someone that can train you. When they start talking about drugs and anabolics and all that other kind of crap, one need not look any further than their education. None of these coaches are educated in pharmacology, diuretics, growth hormone, anti-aging, none of that. I don't know one coach on the market right now in bodybuilding that's a certified doctor, medical technician, including Dave Palumbo, Chris Aceto, Matt Jansen, George Farah, Milos Sarchev. Look around. Those are pretty big names. Kim Odo. They all train people. And I'm not knocking them for training. People come to these guys for their advices. But when they open their mouth to give you advice on a diuretic or an anabolic, pause. That's not what you hired them for. You hired them to make you a better athlete. They don't have the education in pharmacology to know your genetic makeup. These trainers, they say, I make them take their blood work. I get their blood work. Yeah, well, their blood work is not going to stop them from getting gyno. Their blood work is not going to stop them from getting a heart attack, from cramping up on stage, from taking too much Lasix, diuretics, insulin. The list of coaches are infinite. Guys that have never even stepped on stage are coaches. When you start talking about what you should take, consider who you're listening to. I'm not going to go talk to my car mechanic about life insurance. I'm not going to have my landscaper give me advice on where I should invest my money. If I want to talk about my medical history, I'll go talk to a doctor who's certified, educated in that area. If I want to talk to someone how to build my body, I'll talk to a trainer or a nutritionist. I think there's some common sense here that's missing from the athletes. And that is, you have to consider where you're getting your information from. Someone with a great body doesn't necessarily have the blueprint on how to pass that on. But I'll tell you, a trainer trains. A trainer like Charles Glass trains you. He's hands-on. He shows you the mechanics of bodybuilding. A guru from afar on a cell phone, text messaging you what anabolics and what diuretics you need to take. That's not a trainer. A guru that's charging you for anabolics and diuretics, that's not a trainer. While these deaths are tragic and happening with way too much frequency, I've been saying this for well over 20 years. The roosters are coming home to roost. I don't want to say I told you so. But suddenly, I think you guys hear what I'm saying loud and clear, that these coaches need to be held accountable. One more athlete dies, drag that trainer into the courtroom and find out what that trainer had that athlete doing. I guarantee you these trainers will back up off of it. They'll slowly start to fade away. You're not going to see them at the funeral. Matter of fact, they'll tell you they don't even know the athlete at all. Or they'll tell you the athlete didn't listen to him. The athlete was doing what they wanted it to. I remember one of these gurus that I cannot stand because he has way too much blood on his hands said he stopped working with the athlete because the athlete was a drug addict. Well, he had a body count that was long as my arm. So are we fed up? Are we tired now? Too many funerals, too many deaths over the pursuit of a trophy, of a title? Keep talking. Social media is great. Exposing these frauds for who they are is exactly what I was saying back in the 90s. They're not trainers. These gurus masquerading behind the athletes, getting their PayPal money, sending text messages of the protocols they should use while they're sight unseen, need to be held accountable. I don't want to say I told you so. but I told you so.